Yeah. Well, so when you talk about post-traumatic stress syndrome, it seems to me that yes, we've had a fair amount of loss of life, but this war is different than other wars because it seems like people are coming back with more hidden problems like post-traumatic stress syndrome, or are severely disabled. What are some of your thoughts on that?
I think that, every war you have people, those brave men and women that come back, they're going to have issues. I just think that our technology, and we've realized that there's certain mental issues that people come back with, especially when you're over there 1, 2, 3 tours. It really takes a toll on the body and the mind also. And so we really, what's good about our country is that we've started to recognize, post-traumatic stress disorder, the fact that it is an issue, it is a problem, but I just believe that the lack of funding and the lack of respect and the lack of responsibility on our government's part to actually provide the accessibility factor to those military personnel has really been lackluster and definitely needs improvement. So.
And so then changing the issue a little bit back to more domestic policy, when we look at the newspaper, I think it's becoming apparent these days that poverty is increasing. The current administration has led us into a terrible economic quagmire. And even here in Lincoln, which is really a quite prosperous community, poverty rates, according to the Census Bureau, have increased 4% over the last 6 years. What are some of your thoughts about poverty issues and how the U.S. government is responding to these challenges?
I think the poverty issue really needs to be addressed a lot more even when we're in a good economy, and I think it really exacerbates and really puts it out there a lot more. It's more visible when the economy is going down. And yes, the economy is down. Everybody is not doing very well right now. When you go to the store, you have to buy a gallon of milk. That's gone up. You have inflation in the food prices. You go to the gas station to fill up your car. It's costing a lot more. A lot of the disposable income is going to the very things that a few years ago were taken for granted, that you could just fill up your gas, no big deal, and go on a drive for 2-3 days, no big deal. But now it's really, you have to ask yourself, do you buy your children a gallon of milk, or do you fill up the car for the week, And it's really disappointing that we're at this point. I think our government should have done a lot more, and it should have foreseen this issue. And I really do hope that we do, but it's going to take actually a new leadership to do that. It's not, to me, it just seems that if we're going to do the same thing over and over again with the same policies to achieve a new outcome, that just is insanity to me. It's not going to work because you already tried it so many times.
Sure.
And that's why I really, I like what Obama has to say about the economy and what really need to go forward and what we really need to do. And if it was up to me, I'd replace a lot of people in Washington. I mean, I really do think that we need a fresh perspective, and the people that are really suffering, I think those are the people that really need there to really understand, the people that understand where the common man in this country is coming from and what they're going through on a daily basis.
Sure. Well, when I was watching Obama's acceptance speech, which was just phenomenal.
It was a very historic moment in this.
It was great. He mentioned about going and addressing the tax structure and talking about the inequities where the middle class is so hard hit, and looking and revisiting that issue of the top 5%. What are some of your thoughts? How did you react to all that?
I think it's a good point, but right now I still want him to I want him to follow through. I would like actually more explanation on that, even myself, even being a big Barack Obama supporter. And the reason I say that is because in this country we tend to take subjects, that are real big political hot potatoes and lean them into whichever direction is most agreeable to us. And, I agree with him when he said, he's going to be able to cut taxes for 95% of the population. But it really comes down to what is the 95% population? Is it under 200,000? Is it under 100,000? And really, in this state, I mean, what's the median average here? It's only about 35,000, 40,000?
Yeah, around 40.
So, I really hope that he can do that. But every single place has a different median. And so you really have to know how to encompass that. But I really like the fact that he addressed that. We really need to address the fact that people at the top have not really been paying their fair share, especially when it comes to this war, when it comes to the economy, and corporate structures, the corporations out there. I don't know, did you see the article a couple weeks ago? Actually, I think it was in the Journal Star, that maybe it was CNN, I'm not sure, but they stated that it was, I think it was like 25% of all corporations pay zero income tax.
I know, isn't that shocking?
It was a little bit shocking, and that's what we need to change. I mean, we've done it for so long. How have they been getting away with this? This is ridiculous, and that's what we need leadership on, really.
Well, I would so agree. I think that's been impacting our local infrastructure severely for decades, in fact, because we don't have an equal share in taking responsibility for the payment of that. Well, one of the things that's a really hot potato issue, particularly for a person like me who's on the school board, is this No Child Left Behind Act. What are some of your thoughts about that? I mean, that came from the Republicans.
It did. I think the No Child Left Behind Act, when they first enacted it, when they were putting it on paper, everybody was sitting around and deliberating, well, what should it be? What should it look like? What should it accomplish? On paper, just like communism, it was a really good idea on paper. In theory, it works. It works in theory, but when you actually put it to practice, it's just another failure. It doesn't work. And that's the difference. I mean, we can't, NCLB was designed to hopefully get more children educated and get them out of poverty in the long run, but it hasn't accomplished that. And what it's really done is created a bigger burden on our teachers. And what I see happening with the No Child Left Behind is that more teachers are focusing on how to just beat the test and get the children to pass the test, to ace the test, and avoid anything else. And I think what we're really lacking in this country, we really need to have teachers that are qualified to do the job. We need to make and you do that by making sure that they get paid well, and you make sure that they're educated enough to do what they do, and give them the creativity boundaries to be able to teach those children and inspire them to go on to college and so on and do something productive with their lives. But, No Child Left Behind, I think we need to definitely tweak it. And what I see as the biggest issue in education right now is I think we're really lagging behind so many other countries, especially when it comes to math and science. We're not even in the top 20 when it comes to those two. And I think if we're looking at a country where we're going to be looking at the technology and we want to grow our economy, I think an investment in our education is probably the most important thing that we can do. It's a small price to pay to make sure that our economy grows and is stable and is competitive on the global scene. And this is really, you've heard about this at the university level here in Nebraska, where we have the state fair, which is great, by the way. But they're going into that whole argument right now whether the state fair should stay, and the research park that the university wants to build. And I really do think that it's really going to benefit everybody in the state to get that research park built. The reason I say that is because me being a recent graduate, I have a lot of friends that are, we were talking about, what are you going to do after college? What are you going to do with your degree? 75% of them are saying they're leaving the state.
And isn't that a tragic loss?
It is a tragic loss, because at the end of the day, we have so many hardworking Nebraska families that help subsidize so many of those educations in college. And all that money goes towards those educations, and then they leave the state. So in effect, we kind of have like a brain drain. And it really, it really takes away from the growing our tax base in this state. And we could do a lot better, and I really do think that this research park will definitely help the state, everybody. So.